Shadowhunters, Angels and Downworlders alike, and welcome to an Erin Rambles video. Ever since Shadowhunters went on hiatus, I've decided that I will call any video that I make in between that isn't fair and unbiased or first thoughts Erin Rambles. We saw this when I was prior engaged during the week of the Iron Sisters episodes, and I did one video about Alec Lightwood's sexuality, and I called that Erin Rambles. So any video that I'm going to make from now on that isn't going to be part of my podcast and isn't a review of the episodes or part of Fair and Unbiased at First Thoughts is going to be called Erin Rambles because it's Erin rambling. So today's St. Patrick's Day where I am, and I thought I'd make a video because I had plans to go out, but my friend Neve has prior engagements that she has to attend to, hence why the podcast isn't up yet, and hence why I'm not out today. So I thought I'd make a video to share the occasion with you guys, even though I'm not going to be talking about St. Patrick at all. No. What today's video is going to be about is a part 2 video to one that I've actually already made. I said in my review of Love is a Devil that I would be making a part 2 of the topic that I touched on about Shadowhunters and racism. So, because I wanted to talk about Valentine more and his racism in the show. I didn't get a chance to in Love is a Devil because Valentine didn't really feature that heavily in the episode. But he definitely does contribute to the discussion of Shadowhunters and the reflections of real-world racism that they're trying to portray. So, let's get started and talk about how much of a dickhole Valentine really is. Valentine's goal reflects particularly in something we saw quite heavily in World War II. Now, I'm not going to act like I'm a history buff. When I was in school, we learnt about the potato famine. And that's not just me trying to big that up because today's St. Patrick's Day. Literally, I learnt about the potato famine in history. If you wanted to learn about World War II or anything like that, you had to do it when you moved on to study it for GCSE. So while I was learning about the potato famine, everyone else was learning about Hitler and all of the causes of the war and things like that. What I do know about Hitler and the war was that he was very into his racial purity. He had an idea of what the perfect, for him it was the perfect German, what the perfect German person would be. And I see this in the same way that Valentine now sees that Shadowhunters are the perfect race. And to do this, he wants to eliminate all the Downworlders. Because he sees the Downworlders as unclean. He doesn't like them. He sees them as a burden to society. And that reminds me particularly of Hitler, of how he tried to get rid of the Jews and the gays and anyone who didn't fit his image of perfection. And this is exactly what Valentine's trying to do. Valentine is on a similar mission than Hitler in terms of racial plurality. He is trying to abolish all Downworlders, get rid of them, whether it be through torture, killing, just locking them up and not acknowledging them. He wants them out of the way because he believes that Shadowhunters are the superior race and Shadowhunters are being laden down by the existence of Downworlders. This is primarily what Valentine's mission has always been. We've seen this in the flashbacks in season 1 when he turned Luke into a werewolf. It was his fault. Luke was a werewolf. He didn't exactly turn him, but it was his fault. Luke became a werewolf. And as soon as Luke became a werewolf, he didn't want anything to do with him. That was it. Done. No. I don't care. And we have to remember, Valentine and Luke were parabatai. So Luke being turned into a werewolf was enough for Valentine to completely disgrace their parabatai bond and just done. He was done with them. And we also see that in the scene where Jocelyn tries to talk to him about when he was attacked. And she was trying to say, what happened? Did they attack you? Why did you attack them? What was it that happened? And he was just like, oh, we attacked them. And she was like, but why? And he was just like, just because. He wants to get rid of the Downworlders. Reasons that he wants to get rid of the Downworlders, in my opinion, is in the same way that I said that the Shadowhunters still kind of treat the Downworlders kind of as if they're a bit unclean and a bit unworthy of their presence. It's because they're threatened by them. They are threatened by the power that they wield. Valentine uses the excuse that warlocks could blow people out of the sky. They could kill someone with the flick of their hand just because warlocks have this potential. He basically says that they're all a danger. They're a danger to society. And it's the same for the rest of the Dawnworlders. They all have an ability, they all have a power of some sort that makes them a burden to them. They think that Valentine in particular, and anyone who follows him, anyone who's part of the circle, they think that the Dawnworlders are a burden because of the abilities that they hold. They consider them a danger to society, as if one day they're all just going to decide to revolt against the Shadowhunters. And you know why that scares them? Because they know if the Dawnworlders revolted against the Shadowhunters, every single one of them working together, they would probably win. And that terrifies them. Anything that is unknown, anything that they don't understand, terrifies them, terrifies Valentine. That's why he wants rid of them all. And another thing is he considers them unclean because of their demon blood. He sees their demon blood as a factor that makes them dirty, like makes them unclean, makes them unworthy, because demons obviously are different to Dawnworlders. Demons have no moral compass. Demons don't really have a train of thought. Demons are mainly the demons' purposes are to attack or maim or hurt. Not all of them. We see in the Bane Chronicles that Magnus is able to talk to a demon that he summons, but most of them do have an intent to hurt. And because Dawnworlders have that potential in them, because of the demon blood that runs through them, Valentine sees that as all the excuse he needs to go ahead and massacre them. And that's where the racial purity comes in. He wants to massacre all the Dawnworlders because he saw them as just unworthy. He saw them as unworthy. He saw them as dirty, unclean. He doesn't want them there. And as I say, that reflects the things that happened in World War II when Hitler had his concentration camps to get rid of anyone who he didn't deem worthy of being the perfect human. Not now. From what I know in history, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Hitler's idea of the perfect human was someone who was a particular height, who was blonde, and who had blue eyes. He didn't go around killing people who had brown hair or green hair or weren't a particular height. He didn't do that to Germans anyway. But he was trying to breed a particular type of person so that eventually that type of person would take over and become the mass majority. But what he did do was anyone who was Jewish, anyone who was disabled, anyone who was gay, anyone who just didn't fit what he wanted to an extreme extent, they were the ones who were attacked or massacred or killed off. And I always found it fascinating how Shadowhunters reflected sort of this kind of behaviour in the narrative, with Valentine's journey anyway. And it's interesting to think about. I'm not updated in world politics. I know there's a lot of shit going on right now, particularly towards people of particular races, or particular sexualities, or particular mental afflictions. There's always a minority group somewhere. And I can't say for sure that I know that what Hitler did isn't still going on today, because I'm not good at political discussions. I'm not very good with politics or to know what's going on in the world. But I do know that there's definitely a stigma still there. A stigma that, if nourished, could grow into something bigger. So having shows like Shadowhunters addressing this kind of issue is something that I think is very important. Not that I think that people are going to watch it and think, God, Valentine is just like Hitler. Hitler was wrong. Because we all know Hitler was wrong. Like, no, unless you're Nazi, no one is going to go like, oh, Hitler, I totally understand what he was doing. So it's not like Shadowhunters is bringing anything new to the table with Valentine and his views on racial purity. But what it is bringing is something interesting to address in terms of people's views towards others, towards people who are different, to bring up a topic of, is there anywhere in the world that you can think of that has this particular issue? Not the issue of wanting to massacre people, but, or if you do, that's something that can be addressed. But if you know a place, or even if you've done something yourself where you've acted like someone is below you for a particular reason, whether it be their skin, their sexuality, their personality, who they are even just. If you've ever acted like someone's below you for those reasons, then it does make you think about it a bit more and think about your own actions and the actions of others and the actions of people around you, and maybe it will inspire you to make a change. Having issues like this addressed in modern media does bring it to light and make people think, God, this is something that I have seen, or this is something that I've seen mentioned in the news or something like that. And it's so that people know it's important and it's an issue that people still need to sort of address. And Valentine is not a character who's supposed to be liked, especially in the show. He is not there for people to sympathise with. He's not there for people to think, God, he's a bad guy, but his goal makes sense. His reasoning for his goal makes sense. People are there. He's there for people to hate him. He's there for him to be the antagonist, to have a particular idea about a particular group of people that he wants to get rid of. And the interesting thing is, Valentine doesn't have qualms with using Darnwalders for his own personal gain. We see this in season 2 when he uses Dot. He uses Dot to create spells for him and create like portals for him, and he has no problem using her ability when he's able to control it. It's the same with Madsy. As long as he can control Madsy, he has no problem with her. And if he can't kill the Darnwalders, he wants to be able to control them. He wants to be able to control their actions. He wants to be able to know what they're doing, when they're doing it, and how they're doing it, so he knows that they're not going to turn on him, or they're not going to turn on his people, because that's what he believes, that all they want to do. He believes they have a natural instinct to kill just because they have these abilities. He wants to control them, and he wants to have a handle on them. He has no problem with their issues as long as he has his hand behind the puppet, controlling what they want, what they're going to do. He is the puppeteer with the strings, pulling the hands. As long as he knows what he's doing and what they're doing, as long as he knows that they're not going to use their powers against him, he will use them for his own personal gain, because he knows their powers are interesting. They are amazing. These powers that these Darnwalders wield are very powerful. He wants that power, but he knows he can't have it, so he pretends that it's disgusting, it's awful, it's impure. But as soon as he has the opportunity to control a Darnwalder, he is perfectly fine with using it for his own personal gain, and it makes him a hypocrite. It makes him hypocritical, because he claims that these Darnwalders are unclean, that they deserve to die, that their powers are dangerous. But as soon as he has an opportunity to control them, he has no problem with it. He can do it as long as he knows what they're doing when they're doing it. He is perfectly fine with these powers being used to help his goal. Now that Valentine is not in well, I say Valentine is not in the show anymore. Alan Van Sprang is still credited for season 2B, so I'd say that there's probably going to be a couple of interrogation scenes. They're going to question him a bit in season 2B. There's going to be a bit more interaction with him. Maybe there'll be an escape attempt. We don't know yet. But now that Valentine is sort of out of the picture for a while, that means that a new antagonist is going to step in, and that antagonist comes in the form of the character we saw at the end of By the Light of Dawn. Now that the episode's over, we know by the light of dawn it was Dominic Sherwood wearing a cloak and walking away holding the soul sword, but it's not supposed to be Jace. Dominic Sherwood was wearing the cloak and walking away with the soul sword because who they're intending that character to be hadn't been cast yet, so they just had to pretend that it was someone else while it was really Dom in a cloak. But that character is definitely our next antagonist. And again, I've always said this, I don't want to be a spoiler person. I don't know if anyone knows who that person is. Anyone who watches me knows who that person is. I can't differentiate between which of my viewers have read the books and which of my viewers haven't. Although I do know sometimes when people tell me about things that are in the book, but I don't want to risk the fact that there might be someone who hasn't read the books in my audience, so I'm not going to say who it is. But let's just say when this person comes in, shit is going to hit the fan, because if you can believe it, this person is even more fucked up than Valentine, and as soon as he comes in, the show is definitely going to get dark. You thought season A was dark? Season B is probably going to get a lot darker because of this motherfucker, and I don't know if I'm ready for it, but I am at the same time. I say I don't know if I'm ready for it. I am ready for it. I wanted season 2B like yesterday, but what I mean by I don't know if I'm ready for it, season 2A surprised me by how dark it got. If season 2B is going to get even darker, definitely in for a wild ride. And let's just say this character isn't going to be any better on the views than the Darnwalders. I think people already got the idea from that, the fact that they took the soul sword. So yeah, things definitely aren't going to get any better for Magnus or Simon or Raphael or Meliorn. Or Loki as well. Everything's just going to keep getting shitter and shitter for them, tragically. But in season 2B, it says that that there's going to be tension between the Dawnmolders because of what happened in By the Light of Dawn, because of the massacre in the Institute. So that'll definitely be interesting to see. The Dawnmolders aren't going to take shit from the Shadowhunters anymore, which really, about time, you know? So yeah, I can't wait for season 2B. And I made this wee video to talk about what I missed in the Shadowhunters and Racism video, because I thought it was very important to address the similarities that Valentine has with things that have actually happened in the real world, particularly with Hitler and World War II. Not just Hitler, but Hitler is like, I think Hitler's like the default example for this kind of behavior. So it's definitely interesting to see a world where this sort of stuff is still kind of going on, or like they're living in the beginnings of that kind of behavior happening. So I definitely can't wait to see where they're going to progress with it, because from where it goes in the books, as we know, we're not a fan of the books, but from where it goes in the books, it just gets worse. So strap yourselves in. Our favourites are probably going to suffer some more. Sorry, this video was kind of rambly, but I suppose it fits the name, Erin Rambles. My podcast with my friend Neve is coming. It's just, we were going to record it this weekend. We were going to record it today on St. Patrick's Day. We were going to paint shamrocks on our faces and everything and have a whole, first episode, St. Patrick's Day thing. But, there was a sudden prior engagement that she had to attend to, so we're hopefully going to record it at the start of next week and have it up sometime next week. So I hope you stick around. The first episode will be called Too Much Information, City of Boners, so keep an eye out for that. And I hope everyone tunes in to watch it, because Neve is lovely and she has some very interesting opinions on the books. Not all positive, but just the way it is. And so yeah, I hope you tune in for that. I hope this video was watchable and not too rambly, but I wanted to get a video out since I didn't get the podcast out, so I wanted to do something, so I thought I would do this one. So that's it for Erin Rambles for this. I can't even say this week because we're not doing weekly things anymore. That's it, Shadowhunters, Angels and Dawnmolders alike. And happy St. Patrick's Day, if you're Irish or if you're not. I'm Irish and I don't even really celebrate it that much, but that's just the way it is. Happy St. Patrick's Day anyway.
He was obsessed with ensuring purity of blood. Convinced that the impurities were a threat to peace.
He was a threat to peace.
Oh, madmen rarely make sense. Mostly they just hate. And he hated the Downworlders for the gifts that we possessed that he could not have. He hated us enough to kill us all.